What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to a brand new video. A while ago I dropped an episode breaking down the best weapons in Battlefield 6 and you all absolutely loved it, but a lot has changed since then. Some guns have been buffed, some slapped with nerfs, and the whole meta has shifted. So today we're jumping into a fully updated guide to the best weapons in Battlefield in every weapon class. And just to be clear, I'm talking about weapon categories like assault rifles, SMGs, LMGs, and sniper rifles, not soldier roles. The breakdown is going to help you figure out which guns are worth skipping and which ones are absolute monsters you should be using right now. So let's dive right into the updated list of the best weapons in Battlefield 6. So the first class we have is the assault rifle class. Now one of the first guns you unlock is the M433, for example. This gun has been buffed a lot. Actually a lot has changed in the assault rifle class. Guns have been buffed overall because there's just less spread on them, so a lot of these guns are actually quite usable now. Starting off with my all-time favorite gun in Battlefield 6 so far, and it's still on the throne. It's the Court 6P67. If you play a little bit of Battlefield 3-4, you might recognize this weapon a little bit. It is kind of similar to the AEK 971. It's got the low recoil, super high rate of fire. It looks a little bit similar as well. One of the best guns in the game. It takes a bit to unlock. You need to do some challenges for it, but it's absolutely worth it. I think it's my most used weapon in the game at the moment. So the Court 6P67, highly can recommend. Now two guns that have improved a lot over time are the NVO 228E and the M433. Now the NVO is a little bit of a harder hitting weapon, 33 damage with a rate of fire of 654. Now you see 33 damage, it's actually a 3-shot kill. It's like 33.5 damage, I believe, up close. So actually pretty decent time to kill up close. And then the M433 is an absolute beam machine. You unlock this gun right away. It's one of the default weapons. The recoil might be a little bit painful in the beginning, but once you start unlocking some attachments on this weapon, it becomes absolutely amazing. Another one I have to recommend, but it's a challenging weapon, but if you like a challenge, you're gonna love this, the TR7. You unlock this a little bit later at level 50, I believe. It's a 3-shot kill. It's one of the fastest killing weapons in the entire game, actually, and especially on the assault class. The TR7 highly can recommend. Now, guns that I would probably skip are the AK-4D. The rate of fire is just a little bit too slow. It can hit pretty hard when you put headshot multipliers on it, but it's not that good. The L85 is a very average gun. Low recoil, so if you struggle with the rate of fire or the recoil in this game, you might like the L85, but you have to play super defensive and it's not good at winning gunfights. Same goes for the SOR 556. It's one of those, like, not really hard-hitting weapons, but it's pretty steady. It is easy to use, but it just does not win the gunfights. An okay weapon is the B36, kind of mid-class for the assault rifle. It can do a little bit of everything, 25 damage with a rate of fire of 720. So it's definitely not a bad weapon to use, but it is not really excelling in anything. So an average assault rifle, that's the best way to put it. We made it over to the Carbines, and these have one of the best weapons in the entire game. A lot of them have been buffed, one of them has been nerfed, but it's still extremely good. So the ones you want to use are the M4A1, one of an all-time classic, still one of the best guns in the game. They reduced the recoil control a little bit on this weapon, so it should be a little bit harder to use, but it's still one of the fastest killing weapons in the game. 25 damage per shot with a rate of fire of 900. Absolutely incredible. Now, two other guns that I can definitely recommend are the QBZ. This one just feels like a very reliable weapon. Doesn't have a lot of spread, low recoil, kills really quick, 25 damage with a rate of fire of 771, which is extremely good. Now, another gun that has definitely a top 5 weapons in the entire game is the SG553R. The reason why it has a 33 damage with a rate of fire of 720, basically killing it just as fast as the TR7. However, this gun doesn't have any recoil, so you can beam players from mid-range as well. The damage drop off is a little bit awkward around the 30 to 40 meters, I believe. It's going to take 5 bullets out of nowhere. Maybe it kicks in a little bit earlier, but it's one of those super versatile weapons with a really fast time to kill up close. So the M4A1, the QBZ, and the SG553 are extremely good. Now another gun I need to recommend, and I feel like it's heavily underrated, is the GRT-BC. This is kind of like the M433 from the assault class, but then converted into a carbine. Also 25 damage, also 830 rate of fire, just like the M433. The recoil can be a bit of a challenge, but it's an absolute beam machine. Now, two guns I would stay away from are the SOR 300 and the M417. Their time to kills are just a bit slow. They're both a 3-shot kill, which you would say makes them okay. However, the M417 has a small max size, so you need to use some attachment points to upgrade that to maybe 25 bullets. And the SOR just has a slow rate of fire of 600. They're both pretty reliable weapons. It's not like they're useless at all. They're pretty good, but they are just not really competing with the better carbines in the game. Also, another one you can stay away from, but it can be actually quite good on the right map, is the AK-205. The reason why, the Rico is quite low, but the damage is low. I think it has one of the lowest damages in the entire game. However, this gun can absolutely beam with the right build, which I have a video on my channel, by the way. I highly recommend checking that out if you want to max out this weapon, but it's just a little bit specific, and with the small map design in Battlefield 6, it doesn't work that well. Now, another gun that can be good in the right hands is the M277. It's a bit of a weird gun because it is a steady 4-shot kill basically across all ranges. So up close and up far. So it basically has one of the fastest time to kills from range. However, the recoil control can be quite challenging on this gun. So that makes it a little bit weird because you cannot really use it that well from range. And the mag size is quite small. So it is a good gun in the right hands, but I don't think it's super beginner friendly. So want to stay away from a little while until you get a little bit better at the game maybe, and then you can definitely start using it. It's not a bad gun, but definitely not top tier. Moving over to the SMGs, a lot has changed for these weapons actually. They've been nerfed kind of because they have received a bit more spread, so they're not as usable for range anymore. A lot of SMGs still have quite low recoil as they did in the beginning of the game, but ARs and carbines definitely hit harder from range now. So the ones to stay away from, we're gonna start off, are the UMG40 and the PW7. Absolute awful weapons, wouldn't try and use them. 16 damage with a rate of fire of 947, and this has a 25 damage with a rate of fire of 635. Both are just the worst guns on the submachine gun class for sure. Now the good ones are the PW5. This is one of the most versatile SMGs, maybe the most versatile in the game. You can play aggressive with this, but because of the low recoil, you can also play with medium range with this weapon. So I can definitely recommend that one. And then the SGX is kind of like the brother of the PW5. They both are versatile weapons. The SGX kills a little bit faster, but the recoil is a little bit harder to control. So those are kind of your way offs. The USG 90 is one of a mediocre weapon, not the greatest, but also not the worst. It does 20 damage, but it's really good because it has that extended mag with a rate of fire of 900. So it's not that bad. However, the damage, you cannot really compete with other submachine guns because most of them will kill faster. Now, two I can highly recommend are the KV9 and the SCW. Both very similar weapons, as both have the fastest time to kills on the submachine gun class. I think the SCW wins by a little bit. However, the SCW is a little bit less forgiving because the rate of fire is a little bit lower. The KV9 has a higher rate of fire, so it makes hip firing a little bit better, and you can miss a couple of shots and still be dead on target and kill them really fast. But both extremely good weapons, but both are a challenge to use. So again, the best ones probably the PW5 and the SGX. The hard ones but really good ones are the KV9 and the SCW. The average ones are the SL9, which has low recoil but doesn't kill that fast, and the USG 90, and the worst ones the PW7 and the UMG 40. Making it over to the LMG class, and LMG class is one I have changed my mind on a lot. I actually hated the LMGs. I was not looking forward to maxing them out. Now I have them all maxed out and my mind has changed. A lot of the LMGs are quite good. You have to adapt your playstyle, and I feel like playing support on the LMGs is a must because you have faster ADS speed, and the LMGs are quite slow. With a fast time to kill like Battlefield 6, you want to be having a little bit of a faster ADS speed, even though you're going to be playing defensive with most of the LMGs. So the ones you want to be using, I'm going to start off with, I think one of the most underrated weapons in the entire game is the M123K. This is an absolute shred machine. 25 damage, 830 rate of fire, making it having a similar time to kill as the GRT and the M433 up close. However, this gun basically has no recoil and you have a lot more bullets. Of course, it's an LMG, so it's a bit slower than the assault rifles that I just named, but it's absolutely amazing. So the M123K, definitely one to look out for. Now another one, and I feel like this is a classic now in Battlefield 6, is the DRS. Don't think this needs much introduction. A lot of people like this. When I first picked it up, it didn't feel that good because it felt like a slower ADSing AR, which it is in the beginning, but once you start unlocking some attachments for it, it becomes really good. Super beamy, control is extremely good, very good time to kill from range as well, and up close, so a very versatile weapon. Now another one that can be a bit of a challenge to use, but it has one trait that makes it extremely good. It's the KTS-100 MK8. I never pronounced the full name for that weapon, but it's an absolute B machine. It has very low damage and rate of fire, 25 damage with a rate of fire of 514, but it hits hard from range, and you can play very well on it on maps like Eastwood and Operation Firestorm. So those two maps where there's a lot of long range, you're going to be beaming with this weapon. Also a very good weapon for the BR if you didn't unlock this weapon yet. Can highly recommend the KTS. Now, two guns I would not use in the multiplayer that much is the M60. The reason why, it has a 33 damage with a rate of fire of 514. The recoil control is okay, but the gun is just too slow for Battlefield 6. You have to play super defensive. It just doesn't hit as hard as some of the other LMGs with a slow rate of fire. Same goes for the RPKM. I know a lot of people actually like the RPKM, so maybe this is a little bit of a personal opinion, but I think the RPK is also just too slow. It doesn't kill that fast. It doesn't seem like that good of a weapon. The recoil control on the RPKM is very good though, so you can beam players for long range, but it's not one I would recommend. Now, three guns I would put in the mid-range where the L110 still stands out because it's really fast, 25 damage with a rate of fire of 720, and a really good recoil control, so it's quite beamy. One of the first LMGs you unlock. Definitely worth leveling up, but it's not as good as the M123K, for example. Now, a hidden gem that I don't think is that good, but it can be good, is the M250. It has a 25 damage across all range. However, you basically only want to use a 50 round mag, which takes forever to reload, and you get like 2 to 3, maybe 4 kills, but it's extremely good for range, for long range play. But the recoil control then can be quite challenging. Another really good gun, but it can be a little bit of a challenge to use, is the M240L. It has a 33 damage with a rate of fire of 640, which has a potential of 3-shot killing, but the reload can be quite slow. The recoil is quite good on it though, but it's just an average LMG that's not super special. Making it over to one of the most controversial classes in Battlefield 6 is the DMR class. Why is it controversial? Because DMRs have been pretty good in the history of Battlefield, especially Battlefield 1 and 5. DMRs were amazing, but with the fast time to kill in Battlefield 6, sniper rifles being really good in Battlefield 6, it feels like there's not a big purpose of using DMRs unless you're playing the BR of Battlefield 6. Then the DMRs are actually really, really good. Now, the best DMR that I could recommend is the SVDM. The painful thing is you need to do some challenges to unlock this weapon, so it takes a bit of time, but it's basically like an upgraded version of the M39 EMR. It has a faster rate of fire, slightly worse recoil control, and pretty similar damage as a 3-shot kill, but with the faster rate of fire, it also makes it usable for closer range as you want to spray down players. Down part with it is that you need an extended mag probably to make it decently usable, which costs a lot of points. Now, the two, I would say, mediocre DMRs are the SVK and the M39. Both really good in the right situations on the right maps, but I feel like with most maps in Battlefield 6, they don't really go that far. Now, one of the worst guns in the entire game is the LMR-27. It is just not that usable, not that great, not good at anything. The recoil control is the best out of all the DMRs, so you can spray it, but with a rate of fire of 450, it just doesn't really cut it compared to most of the other weapons in this game. We are making it over to the sniper class, and honestly this is a class that I struggle with the most to put in a right order, which means all of the snipers are actually quite good, but I'm gonna explain which sniper you should use when. Starting off with the M2010 ESR, I think this is one of the most versatile snipers in the game. It has a sweet spot range of 75 to 120 meters, making it a one-shot kill to the chest within that range. So if you position yourself well on maps like Liberation Peak, Operation Firestorm, Eastwood as well, you're going to be beaming with the M2010, but you have to play a little bit defensive, you have to play in the back. Now, my personal favorite sniper is the SV98. Why? Because it has a closer range of fire, closer sweet spot, I should say, which in the description it says 54 to 90 meters, but it's actually 45 to 90 meters in this game. So this is a one-shot chest shot kill, between those ranges, making it one of the better snipers because a lot of your gunfights are going to be within that range in Battlefield 6. A lot of the maps are a bit smaller, so for the aggressive sniper, the SV98 is amazing. For the super defensive sniper is the PSR. This is your long range sniper. Why? Because the sweet spot is between 100 and 150 meters, making it a one-shot chest shot between that. But you have to play super defensive, and there's not a lot of maps that really work well with that range. Now for these super aggressive and super accurate snipers, I think this is, if you're a high skilled sniper, this might be your favorite one, is the Mini Scout. It doesn't have a sweet spot out of all the snipers. However, it is a one-shot headshot, obviously, and it has the highest rate of fire. So if you're an aggressive fast sniper, you can use the Mini Scout on basically any map in the game with a pretty decent project velocity as well, with 880 meters per second. Making it over to the shotgun class, it's a bit of a tricky one to categorize. I'm going to order them in a way where you would use shotguns as a primary weapon, not as a secondary on assault. However, I want to give a little bit of a recommendation. The 18.5 KS is not good as a weapon on its own. However, it is a good secondary shotgun to have when you're using assault. Now the two shotguns I can highly recommend are the M87A1 and the M1014. The M1014 does a little bit less damage than the M87, however it has a faster rate of fire. You can semi-automatic this weapon pretty fast. The M87 has a harder hitting, a little bit more precision on this one. So if you're more accurate, you're gonna like the M87A1 a lot more. The DB12 actually seems a bit bugged in this game. I tried it for quite a while. As you can see, I got it to level 15, so I still need a lot of levels on this weapon. It recently came out, but the gun doesn't seem that accurate. You have to stand still with the DB12 in order for your bullets to really go where you're shooting. So I couldn't really recommend this one for now until they might fix the accuracy a little bit more. So that is going to be it. Hopefully the video was useful. Hopefully you learned something new. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I really hope to see you in the next video.